Y'all, I definitely forgot to let you guys know that in the first portion of the video, I'm gonna be explaining what happened with my piercing. And if you guys want to know what I did in order to help me with my piercing, I will leave a timestamp down below so you guys don't have to watch the entire story if you don't want to, because if you want to, watch it because it's a funny ass story. But if you don't want to and you're just here to see what I did to help me bring down my keloid a little bit, then timestamp will be down below. And thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe and like and comment because I see you. You better. First things first. Do you guys remember The Parent Trap, where Lindsay Lohan pierced her twin with ice and the whole apple in the ear thing, whatever? My best friend, all the way in January, I was sleeping over her house, a little piercing gun from Wish, and it was like a little plastic thing, and I swear, I wish I can, like, it was probably no bigger than this tiny little sponge, like, I swear to God. So she asked me to pierce her ears because she had the second hole that closed. So she asked me to reopen it for her. And I said, you know what? I can do it. Let's do it. And after we were done with that, sis tells me, I want to pierce something on you. And me, being the dumbass that I am, said, you know what? Let's do it. She took a piercing, like the startup piercing, and she pierced my nose with it. Now, that already is causing a hell load of trauma to my skin, simply because I'm piercing a regular piercing with pressure by hand on my nose. That was not the best idea in the world. She took, oh, I'm gonna show you guys the bar that I started out with. Obviously, there's different type of bars that you can put in your nose ring. There is the hook, which is the startup piercing that you should get if you're gonna get a nose piercing, and you go to a professional piercer and they start you up with this bad boy right here, right? Which is the hook. So obviously, when she was piercing my nose with a regular piercing that you start off with in your ears, she wasn't able to put the hook inside of my nose because I was gonna pierce downward and it was gonna hurt like hell. So I said, hey, what if we take an L, which is this bad boy right here? And she was like, oh, what if we take that one since it's just the L and we plop it in and call it a day, right? So she decided to put in that piercing and it didn't want to pop through because there was a layer of skin inside of my nose, which is where my keloid started, that didn't want to pass through because it healed really fast, well, it closed really fast or whatever. And in order for you to get through that, you needed to put a lot of pressure on it. Now, when you go to a regular piercer, which I have no experience with, but my best friend has got so many nose piercings that I know this for a fact. When you go to a regular piercer, of course, they sanitize everything and they place where you want your piercing, and they put the needle inside of your nose. And when they put that piercing in the bottom, they put the bottom of the hook and they bring it upward and then place the top of the stud. And you stay with the stud, and you're supposed to stay with the stud for at least 3 to 4 months while it heals, and then you can go ahead and change it because it needs time to heal the wound around it. Now, where I went wrong, well, I already went wrong in the situation for not going to a professional piercer. I decided to tell her, hey, let's take that L piercing out because it didn't want to pop through because it was too small to go through that like small little layer in the inside of my nose. And she took out that piercing, re-pierced my nose in the same place with probably more pressure, but you know, Mama raised no bitch, so we said we're gonna keep it pushing. Even though it hurts, we're gonna keep going. She decided to do it one more time. We left it in for about 5 minutes before we placed the other piercing in. Now, this is the one that I started off with, which was an L that I like made into kind of a straight bar, but a little angled so it wouldn't pop out, which didn't work because it would still pop out every time like I'd wash my face and I would dry my face with my face towel. So there was really no point in doing it, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna just change to a stud. I started off with this one right here that I bent myself, but it was easier for her to push that other piercing in, the one that I just showed you, because since it was a straight line, it was easier for her to like pop in. It was probably one of the most painful things that I have ever experienced besides cramps. We're already in too deep into this process, and I told myself, you know what? We're here. I took this pain and we're gonna do it. Period. She goes and she pushes it in and it pops through. We finally get it to pop through after like 20 minutes of trying to get this one piercing inside of my nose. And after all of this goes down, I see that there's like a bump underneath my nose. So one of my friends saw me at my job and she was like, you got your nose pierced? I was like, yeah, you know me, I got it pierced. And she was like, where did you go to get it pierced? And I said, my best friend did it for me. And that right there, she looked at me like, why did you think that was a good idea? I'm here telling her like the process of it, and she's like, you look like you have a keloid underneath. And in the bottom there was like this big bump, probably as big as this keloid right here. In the inside, maybe a little bigger, just because it was such a fresh piercing that the pressure applied to my nose really like hurt it bad. So after a week went by and everything started going down more, the swelling, I had changed my piercing into a hook. I didn't want the piercing to keep on falling out because my scars kept getting hooked on to my piercing, and that was the most annoying thing in the world. Me and my paranoia, since I knew that that smaller piercing kept on popping out, I kept on wanting to like reassure that it's in my nose, and I touched it, and that's most definitely why I got a keloid on the top part. That made it get even worse, and I started to do saltwater soaks. So what a saltwater soak is, sea salt water. Sea salt is really good for drying out wounds. You can get sea salt from literally anywhere. I was doing those dips and it helped this come down. But then this bad boy came up because I didn't have it until way after. So I kept on touching my piercing, and when I cleaned my piercing, I was using none other than a cotton swab. And this is what you should never, ever do. So I was searching on my YouTube and I was looking up ways to get rid of keloids, and there was like tons of piercers that was saying like, oh, you need to clean it out and then do X, Y, and Z. So when my keloid got a tad smaller, I changed into a hoop, and then when I changed into a hoop, I saw that my keloid started getting even worse. And the reason why, I'm pretty sure it started getting even worse, and please, I'm not that good with piercings, so if you take my advice, take it lightly. I'm just telling you guys my experience and what you should not do in this situation. I definitely kept on cleaning out the dry skin that was coming off of the hoop, and I changed to the hoop because the stud, there was dry skin that kept getting caught underneath, so I wanted to make it easier for me to clean it. I changed it to the hoop, and I kept touching it. I kept on cleaning it with a cotton swab, and that's where I went wrong, because microfibers from the cotton swab actually get into the piercing, and it can be very minimal, so you would not even notice that there's anything going into your piercing, and there is something going into your piercing. Also, when you wash your face, you needed to be careful. I was being careful, but not too careful. And when I moisturized my face, I was adding moisture. Now, one of my friends sent me a TikTok with somebody mixing tea tree oil, which was already something that a lot of the piercers recommended, but my current Wally World did not have any tea tree oil, so I couldn't use any tea tree oil at the moment because I have it now, but at the moment. And I mixed it with coconut oil, and let me tell you why that is not a good idea. I was mixing tea tree oil with the coconut oil because in the video it was a girl that mixed tea tree oil with coconut oil, and the reason why that is a bad idea is because coconut oil is very oily. Now the point of getting a keloid off is to dehydrate it in order for it to start minimizing into your skin, because the more hydrated your keloid gets, the bigger it gets, if that makes sense, because you're giving it more ammunition for it to grow, and you're giving it more of a purpose to take over your face. And we don't want that. We want it to go down. And this is where we get into what I started doing in order to make my keloid feel better. So I went on Amazon, and this is finishing because I use this so much, so I need to get another one. And it retailed for, I think, like no more than $14. I'll let you guys know. I'll definitely let you guys know. But it is this H2O ocean spray, and it is sea salt compressed. So what I would do, I would moisturize my face, because since this is sea salt, it can get drying, and I would moisturize everywhere but this area. And after I did all of that, I would spray my nose with Mr. Sea Salt spray, and after that I'd let it dry out so the area is clean. And then I would take fresh tea tree oil, not mixed with anything, and place it right on top of the keloid. And the reason why I did that is because tea tree oil is meant to dry out piercings. It is meant to dry out things. I woke up in the morning, did it in the morning after my face routine, and at night, and maybe like once throughout the day if I felt like it was a little too irritated. And I'm definitely gonna be putting some pictures to show you guys how my piercing was, like all the way when I started this treatment, and how, well, you can definitely see how it is now, but it's definitely more dry. It is not bleeding anymore. There is no pus coming out anymore. And maybe every other day I feel like it gets super dry, and I peel with a tweezer the skin that is on top dry, and after I peel that off, I do the process all over again. And I do it only because that means my keloid is minimizing down to my nose, well, my regular skin, and the skin is shrinking, which means that there is room for the rest of the skin that's there to peel off. So I peel it off, and I, you know, sanitize everything else with my ocean spray, and of course sanitize my hands before I do it, because if I have bacteria on my hands, it's gonna transfer. I rather not. And when I wake up the next day, there is, you know, less of a bump. But I will definitely keep you guys updated whether or not it is more effective, because so far it's been super effective, and I've seen way more results than what I was doing before. And please, for the love of Jesus Christ himself, don't induce yourself into piercing something for yourself, because the trauma that you will cause your skin is atrocious, and you don't want it, because you rather pay the money to do something than to do it yourself. And don't get me wrong, I love my best friend, I love her, but this was more my fault for letting her do it than her giving me the piercing. I know my mom didn't raise no punk, so whatever this comes with, I'm gonna take it, because I ain't no punk.